Madam Chinwe. Ndewo. Auntie otekwala o, kedukwanu? Maki Bella, you're welcome on Instagram. Kedo. Maki Bella, how are you? Wada Sale. Ndewo. Kedu ndị nọ na YouTube? Adeze Dunya, you're welcome. Central 70. Wada Sale Ndewo. Marine Frontier on Instagram. How are you? Welcome. Okay. Wanda Sally, go ahead and share with a team. Mr. Kingsley, you're welcome. Kizzy America, you're welcome. All right, Adeze Dunya, you can hear on YouTube. Thank you for letting us know. All right, yeah, Ndewo. Yeah, so please share on the team, on all the teams, the Otu NDINKUZI, the I have. K-Man, how are you? Ndewo no, mmadụ niile, ana m anabata onye ọbụla. Mr. Carl, Usekwu Foods. Ndewo no. Eji m obi ụtọ na-anabata mmadụ niile. Yeah. Mrs. Chinwe, it's been a while. Eji m aka na ebe nọ ugbu a dị mma. Ndewo, o daalụkwa. Thanks for joining. Unu so na ndị njem ọnụ na otu ndị nkuzi Igbo. Is Kosi Starboy. Ya dịkwara gị mma. Mr. Carr, what's up, Pops? Man, we're here to learn Igbo again today, okay? That's what's up. Yeah. We're here to learn our language, our linguistic heritage again. Kesede. Mazi Nnamdi. Ndewo ya dere gị na mma o. Aha. Ekele dịrị mmadụ niile na-abata. Ana m ahụ Adeze Dunya, Mazi Nnamdi. Who else has joined us on YouTube? Who else is there? Okay. Let us share the program. Let us repost and remind people that should be here that na oge erula. You all know that we sing in Igbo and when we get to school about learning. Akwụkwọ na-atọ ụtọ, ọ na-ara ahụ na mmụta, onye nwere nkasi obi, ọ ga-amụta akwụkwọ. Ọ bụrụ na nne gị na nna gị nwee ego, ọ bụrụ na nne ya na nna ya nwee ego, ọ ga-amụta akwụkwọ. It is true that learning is something very interesting. A1, how are you? Wherever you are joining, this is Omenka App LLC bringing to you Igbo Literacy Project, where we educate Igbo people on how to write their language and non-Igbo people on how to speak and how to write, how to understand Igbo language. Why do we do this? Because we know that Igbo people are one of the oldest humans that lived on earth. Ndewo nwanne nwoke, Yup from Wood. Kedu ezigbo aha gị? O Yup from Wood. Gịnị wa aha gị? Ndewo, daalụkwa. Thanks for joining us. Igbo people are one of the oldest humans, Chigozirim Yaderegenamma Nam, that have ever lived on earth, with very rich cultural heritage, with very rich historical experience that have changed over time, especially with the advent of colonialism that lasted for 400 years plus, during which time millions of Igbo people were migrated through slavery, through different other migration processes that made Igbo people as one of the Black people on earth, one of the largest number of Black people on earth that spread across the world. Igbo is an old kingdom, is a very ancient kingdom. Igbo people are ancient and as well as modern. So over time, migration, intentional migration and unintentional migration through slave trade, colonialism, war, and all of these have happened to the Igbo people even in the modern time, modern political suppression in the country they found themselves called Nigeria. All of these put together have continued to suppress Igbo, the identity, and especially the language. And that is, on one hand, Igbo people pride in their industrial nature and their sovereign way of going to places and adapting and contributing to community development. On the other hand, this has become a menace. This has become a challenge for the continued existence of the Igbo race, especially the linguistic heritage, the historical heritage, the ancestral heritage. All of these are under siege today. All of these are under attack. Like, imagine a very serious attack. Even in the 21st century, the Igbo race has continued to be under attack by several different forces. And this, we are not Uzoala Rose Ndeo or Dalukwa Yadereginamba. This, when we say it, we are not exaggerating it. Now, by intention, several Igbo people travel out, live overseas, live outside of Igbo land, build their families there, raise their children. And this has led to lots and lots of Igbo-born children growing away from home and having little or no contact, little or no connection with their ancestral home and, by extension, with their language. Amongst all of this, the worst part of it is when we have parents who no longer have interest in indoctrinating their children, enculturating their children, no longer have interest in exposing the children to their language early. Early exposure to language is the right thing to do for every parent. But because of lots of reasons, excuses that, as far as we are concerned, none of those excuses is cogent. None of them is rich enough for a parent not to enculturate their child. But this is going on. So several Igbo-born children are growing up with little or no contact with their linguistic heritage. And this has continued to lead to the misuse, misapplication, and misimplication of Igbo language. And this has also raised a generation of little or no literacy in their language. But also the worst part of it is the reduced identity ownership that young people are getting into, which of course you can describe as identity crisis. When a person is not able to communicate in their language, you cannot speak nor write your language, you are less a native of that place than even a stranger who does not identify naturally, because a stranger will be regarded as a stranger. You are not regarded as a stranger, yet you are not really part of the system because you cannot express yourself in the cultural ideologies in a way the language expresses. This is why we do this in Omenka app. Omenka app is an organization, an entity that has taken it upon herself to educate Igbo people, Igbo young men and women, through a campaign we call Igbo Literacy Project. And we want to do this by every means possible. Think about Renaissance. This is our own Renaissance. Think about the return of the Jewish nation. This is about our return to our ancestral heritage through our language. Language is a doorway to every cultural heritage. Language is a vehicle. Language is the access that grants you ownership, that grants you a place on the table where elders sit to share wisdom. N'ala Igbo, ndị okenye ka a maara ka ndị nwere amamihe. Ọ bụghị naanị because na ha nwere isi awọ, mana Igbo kwenyere na tupu mmadụ awụrụ okenye, ọ gafeela ọtụtụ ihe, ọ hụla ọtụtụ ihe n'ụwa nke mere na isi awọ nwere bụrụ ya amamihe. Ya nwa mere na anyị kwenyere na ịsọpụrụ ndị okenye. Ndị okenye na-ekwu okwu n'ilu, ha na-eji ilu ekwu okwu n'ihi gịnị? Ebe ahụ ka amamihe ndị Igbo nyere fụmfụm. Ebe ahụ ka ndị Igbo na-eji egosi onwe ha dịka ndị nwere oke amamihe. If you are a Christian and you read the gospel according to the 4 gospels, where Jesus, when he was talking to his disciples, you know that a lot of things he said was about the parables. He used figurative expressions. If you're also conversant with the Proverbs, it's all about a bunch of wisdom, expressed in different colors. So that is what the elders in Igbo land do. My IG space, how are you? Thanks for joining us on Instagram. Yawa mere ana m anabata mmadụ niile taa na TikTok, na Instagram, na YouTube. All of you that have come here to learn with us. All of you that have continued to show up here every week. Monday, 1 p.m. Eastern Time, 7 p.m. Nigerian time. We're here teaching wisdom that is found in our language. But we are not doing this because to show that we know too much. No. We are doing this because we know it is a matter of urgency. And we are welcome. We are open to welcome everyone who wants to identify with the Igbo race. By virtue of your being born as Igbo, by marriage, by friendship, by job or work or business, whichever way that gets you exposed to identify with the Igbo, you are welcome to be in this class. We learn the language. Most importantly, we focus on how to write an Igbo word. That is why we say Mkpụrụokwu Igbo. I've not written my topic. Mkpụrụokwu Igbo, which is aspects of Igbo word. For the past few months, we have been dealing with this topic from different angles. Jaja, my sister, you're welcome. Kedo, Ndewo, it's good to have you. Right. Ndewo no. Yawa mere IG na-eme ihe anyị na-eme to ensure, of course, because we were also awakened in 2006 when UNESCO, after some thorough research, I would say, predicted that the Igbo people continue in the trend of having laissez-faire attitude, showing laissez-faire attitude towards their language, that Igbo language is prone to die, is prone to extinct. Ndewo Jaja, Dalo. Now, this raised a huge controversy, different thoughts and opinion amongst Igbo people. Always Igbo ga-anwụ, Igbo apụghị nwụọ, Igbo agaghị anwụ, hapụ ndị UNESCO. Ụfọdụ ndị wee lebazie anya sị na ihe a bụ arụ ọ bụrụ na o mee. The reason is because in linguistics, a language can go into extinction for several reasons. One of them is when the language speakers disappear. When the language is no longer being spoken by many people, maybe the speakers become 2, 3, and then before you know it, they all disappear. Either that they are killed, they died, or they stop speaking their language. In fact, they stop existing. That is one way. The other time is when a language is suppressed by a higher power, a higher political power, and another language is introduced and people stop speaking their language. You know that this experience, that's what happened during colonialism. And to a large extent, after colonialism, people were still being stopped from speaking their language. Chidema Anosie, Ndewo Kedo, Otela. Been a long time you've been in class, but it's good to have you today. You're welcome, Dalo. Right. Then the other time that a language has the potential of going into extinction is when the people willfully, Chiwendo, thanks for joining on Instagram. Ndewo. Mgbe ndị mmadụ hapụrụ asụsụ ha, when the people willfully leave their language, stop speaking, or maybe stop transferring the knowledge of their language, stop speaking to their children. Seed of Africa, you are welcome. How are you? Thanks for joining us on Instagram. So when the people begin to have laissez-faire attitude towards their language, this can happen to any language. And the latter is the case for Igbo language. For several different reasons, young people, Igbo young born, who are born outside of Igbo land, have very loose connection with their language today. To some, their relationship with their language has become ceremonial, has become convenient, has become even a thing of a show. You show on social media, oh, I can speak Igbo. Arrant nonsense. Moburundi okenyo lie. Your relationship with your language is not supposed to be ceremonial. It's not supposed to be a show. It is supposed to be a cultural trait. It is supposed to be part of you, your lifestyle. I anaghị eji asụsụ anyị eme ihe naanị because na anyị nidiri ji akwu okwu. Ladies kedo, thanks for joining. We live our language. Our language is us. When our language is threatened, that we no longer have reason to grow speaking or raise our children to speak, there is problem, and that is a problem that we are facing today. Let us not shy away from this. Igbo race is under attack by all forces, and the language is under attack. Some of the attack is internal, the one that we caused by ourselves. And some of the remote causes of what we caused by ourselves are the things we have experienced. We travel, either willfully or by force, and we found ourselves in a place where Igbo language is not readily available for our children. This is the trend of our problem. So I invite you to this class today. I welcome you, but I do not only invite you to enjoy and learn here, but to also share with as many people in your contact, in your orbit, that you know that this class is meant for. Anyị na-akụzi Igbo ebe a. Na m na-asụ asụsụ Bekee bụ na enwere ndị nwere mmasị n'ihe anyị na-eme, mana ha na-amụ Igbo amụ. Ya nwa m ji na-agbọ okpokpo Bekee niile m na-asụ. Gbaghara m nọ. Aga m akụzi nwa ihe m na-akụzi n'Igbo na-etinyeghị asụsụ Bekee. Mana dịka o si dapụta, ka enwe ike ime ka onye ọbụla batara ebe a wee nọrọ ọdụ mụta ihe a na-ekwu. Ndewo. Asọrọ onye ewu maazị ke oriakụ bụ odoziakụ. Asọrọ onye daalụ. Aha gị dịchazi ka aha nke m. Ndewo o. Ana m ekele onye ọbụla. Susie, thanks for sharing. Thanks everybody that are here joining, communicating, participating, and sharing. Gozie Bells. Gozie Dalo Okedo. Thanks for joining on Instagram. Okay. I welcome you all. So since the past few months, anyị na-eleba anya etu esi ede mkpụrụokwu Igbo. N'izu gara aga, anyị lebara anya ihe gbasara ka esi agbakwunye nsonaazụ ngwa o wee nye anyị mkpụrụokwu ndị ga-egosikwa na ha bụ ngwa mana ọ na-egosi tense. Okay? What if you understand perfectly but can't speak? Darling sister, I believe you are a sister, Nelly. You add more effort to speak. Curious Bay, how are you? Thanks for joining on Instagram. Okay, you put more effort towards speaking. It is for your benefit. Because you can't go running around everywhere. Say, I can understand Igbo, but I can't speak. At some point, you find the need that this has become a cliche. I can't continue to say this. Oh, I can understand, I can't speak. So we have Omenka app. While you are on this live, go ahead, go to your Play Store, to Apple Store, download Omenka app. That is the way to start. I can recommend additional books, but why we are centralizing our work on Omenka app is because we are putting Igbo on digital platform that will live after us. We do not have a bogus culture of reading books today. So things are forming into digital. So that's what we are doing. So Omenka app is one-stop place you can access the basic form of Igbo, starting from the words, especially if you go to the word search. It will give you access to thousands of words that we are documenting that you don't need to even guess what their pronunciations are because it has audio. Any word that you see on our app is already voiced by people who are good at what they do. So in that case, we didn't, we skipped the problem of tone marking. So we put you on a pedestal to starting to enjoy how Igbo words sound. So by the time you hear it, you repeat again and again, you see the meaning and it's there. And also, if you have the app, every day you'll be getting notifications about the word of the day, some of which we share on our social media platforms. Omenka, Omenka. That's the correct spelling, my IG space. Omenka. Is on Play Store, is on Apple Store. So we share some of those on our social media platforms. So we have a huge TikTok platform, like some of you have seen. We have a huge YouTube presence. We have a growing Facebook presence and on Instagram as well. You can also go to our website, www.omenkaapp.com. Yes, my IG space. That's correct. All right. So please, sister, if you understand perfectly, do well to start speaking. And if you need a customized class, we offer that as well to people. You can go to our website on i-have.org rather. That is where is a hub, is a language hub for indigenous and endangered languages. We study signed and spoken languages. We study the local and indigenous sign languages used in Africa. And then we study spoken languages with Igbo as #1 language that we are dealing with at the moment. So that's what we're doing. Abumonyi Igbo, Igbo, a very proud Igbo son. I love my language, my identity. I love everything about who I am, and that's why I do what I do. And I am a trained linguist, and I have very vast experience in research in language and linguistics and community linguistics, speech and hearing sciences, sign linguistics, and all of that. So you see that what we are doing, it is what we are trying to do. And I have a team of experts and people who are trained alongside, who are working in translation and providing of data and all of that. But all of this I said has nothing to do with sitting down to relate with our language as speakers. You don't need to get all of these trainings to learn how to use your language. Ụmụafọ Igbo, Igbo bụ asụsụ anyị, ya nwa ka chi kere anyị niile nyere anyị. Ọ bụrụ na Chukwu taa m nwere microphone, I mean my hand doesn't stay at place. Ọ bụrụ na Chukwu achọghị ka anyị bụrụ ndị Igbo, ọ gaghị eke anyị ndị Igbo. O kere anyị Igbo n'ihi na ọ chọrọ ka anyị bụrụ Igbo. You cannot give yourself a different identity. It doesn't matter how you try. People today try to be cultureless. People today in the Western world try to to be culture neutral. There's nothing like that, even though when you claim it, because your DNA says otherwise. Your DNA is something that suggests this is who you are. And your part of your DNA is your cultural identity, okay? And because you are Igbo, you have it as a point of duty to live your life on the planet Earth being Igbo. And what that means is preserving, touching the basis of your ancestral heritage and contributing towards preserving that. Many of us here that are listening to me, you are Christians. You read the Bible. You are ingrained in everything about the Bible. Why do we read the Bible today? Somebody wrote it down. And most of the times I talk, because I also grew up as a Christian, I touch their faith, how we were taught, how we grew up learning everything about Abraham, Moses, Isaac, Jacob. But we failed to understand that as much as we read the biblical history, it talks about the history of a people. That we learning how God treated a people and how he deals with that by extension, does not in any way ask us to forget our own identity. There's nowhere he says that. The best time you become the best person in your faith as a Christian is when you approach that in the presence of your own identity. You come to God as an Igbo person. In fact, o nwere otu film na-aga mgbe anyị na-eto eto a na-asị ịmana Jizọs na-asị Igbo. Mgbe ọ pụtara anyị niile, Jesus na-asị Igbo. How does it? It was like, oh, okay. So in the first place, what language should Jesus speak? If he is God, he speaks every language. So o mere anyị ka anyị bụrụ ụmụ Igbo. Chineke kere anyị ndị Igbo kwenyere na Chukwu, Chukwu, Chineke ihe niile ya kere eluigwe n'ụwa. Even before the missionaries brought Christianity, every Igbo born knows this, that we have a relationship with the Almighty God. Whichever way that relationship was established, that's how it was. Every people have had a way they established their relationship with their God, whosoever they worshipped. Nobody brought us that. Nobody brought relationship with the Almighty God to the Igbo people. Anyị nwere okwu anyị na-agwa Chukwu anyị n'ụzọ ọbụla anyị na-esi ekwu ya. Anyị nwere ụzọ anyị si ekpere Chineke n'asụsụ anyị, and it must be in our language. But today, we now live a life whereby as soon as you open the Bible, the next thing that will come out of your mouth is English. You go to my village where I grew up playing ball on the street, wearing colored pants those days, with my peers and all of that. A pastor in my village will open the Bible and he will speak English and will be looking for a translator. I didn't grow up in the township. I'm not a city boy. I'm a village boy. And it's one of the most beautiful experiences anybody can have. Chifoman Kedo, welcome. There were Becca's Diary. Thanks for joining. So, but today we see our pastors sent in our villages. They no longer open the Bible and speak to us in Igbo. They will look for an interpreter. Where my grandmother, my great-grandmother is sitting down listening, wanting to hear God through the pastor. The pastor will go and employ an interpreter. Is a misnomer. So please, your language is your identity. It shows a very huge aspect of your authenticity. For our brothers and our sisters who are born outside of Igbo land, who are making every effort to learn how to speak, congratulations, Jisike, do not stop. That is why we created Omenka app. to reach you, to reach every one of us, to give us no excuse for not being enculturated in Igbo. Because when you are not, you are seeing yourself being cut off from your ancestral lineage, and you are rendering your own children cultureless, if there's anything like that, because you are hanging them. By the time you leave, who are they going to be if you did not introduce them, expose them early to the language? I just had a meeting with my team. We usually meet here on Mondays before my class. And it was almost like I needed to preach. And that's why I decided to start my class this way today. I feel like I think I need to preach to some of us. Ụmụafọ Igbo, ihe anyị na-eme bụ coming back, getting back to who God created us to be ab initio. You can't do this without your language. We do great when we go out there. Okay? Anyị na-agbalị, anyị na-egosi ụwa that Igbo is a very unique race. It's a very unique set of people. If you do not know that, please know it today. People say, Igbo people sometimes think they are unique. They are. Sincerely, they are. And that does not mean that other people do not have their uniqueness. If you go back to the history of the Igbo, that is when you will know. So, it is going to be a great shame of the century. If you do not do anything. I was speaking with one of my team members yesterday about NKUZI Igbo. You know, I had conversations, phone calls yesterday with regard to the work we are doing. And this is one of the ladies that are doing a very great job in promoting Igbo. But I did not know the kind of challenge existing in the school she's teaching. We are just about 1 or 2 or 3 of them now NKUZI Igbo. She's about the only person that has the passion. And then you have hundreds of students who are coming from families that have already conditioned the minds of these kids, JS, that Ejibwe JB. Then you see an entire school. And I'm telling you, what we need is an intervention. I started my research as a linguist, as a sign linguist, studying local and indigenous sign languages used in Nigeria and then Africa. We extended to Ghana, Zimbabwe today. We touched some of Algeria. But I'm telling you, the language we speak in the deaf world in terms of language acquisition is what we call language intervention. Or, sorry. Excuse me. What we call, sorry, excuse me. I had cold over the last weekend and it's not yet completely cleared. Welcome, everybody. So we have a term we call early intervention. Thank you, Beatrice. Thank you. Thank you, TK. Kedo, how are you? So early intervention is when a child who is born and is expected to be exposed to a language piece, immediately they are born up to the first 5 years of their life. When that is missed, that child will have problem acquiring language, no longer able to acquire language at that level. Acquisition happens by intuition. What it means is that a child is born with what linguists call innate ability to acquire language. In fact, the immediate language of the child's or the language of the child's immediate environment, which becomes the language one. But linguists also suggest that a child has this ability to acquire more than one. Thank you, Jaja. Thank you. To acquire more than one language simultaneously. Okay. But even at that, there are still linguists now begin to classify if a child acquires more than one language, which one is the L1? So the categorization now will become which one is a child's cultural tongue, or what we could call mother tongue. So in that regard, if a child misses the acquisition stage, which is the first 5 years of a child's life, that child enters into a situation or a stage where it takes only intervention to get them back to the language or to that linguistic prowess. Now, if exposure begins to happen at that time, even after 5 years, it could be faster. But when exposure happens much later, it becomes more difficult. So many Igbo-born young people today are going through intervention, linguistic intervention. It's no longer early because many are become adults and having problems relating with the language. The greatest problem about this is that no matter how well you speak the English language or any other Western language, as the case may be, depending on where you grew up, it cannot be your L1. You cannot, there's no way you will identify as a native speaker of English language. That is the problem. Ọ bụrụ na ị agaghị akpọ gị onye bekee, agaghị akpọ gị onye bekee, onye oyibo, just because you speak blah 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 blah. That means you are neither here nor there. Okay, that is where the also position becomes a problem. You know, in one thing we might have also for those of you that come from Nigeria, you know the bat theory. You know, today the president of Nigeria is called Bat. Oh my God. Anyway, what we're trying to say is, even if you have found yourself in that position, you have a choice, and you still also have a chance. You know, it's just like say today is the day of salvation. Accept you the Lord Jesus Christ as your Savior. Today is the day of salvation. Take up the challenge of teaching yourself Igbo. Beautiful thing. We're in a digital world. Social media makes everything available and accessible in our world today. You have access to our contents. Omenka app is there. All of our teachings online, they are there. Chidemandeo. We teach. I do this every Monday. Later in the day, I'll be teaching the younger people, my own students that are here. And fortunately, this term, I go Akuku Igbo. My students are doing great. We introduced the first book we are reading, written by one of the Igbo teachers that are on our team. The book Aporo Akarachi Enweghị Nhicha, which is Akarakachi Enweghị Nhicha. You cannot you can become on your channel no matter what you do. Beatrice, thank you. You cannot. You know, we can only form. You know, Nigeria people would form too much. Okay, so if you want to join my class later in the evening, it's 8:30 p.m. Eastern time. It's gonna be 1:30, I guess, or 2:30 a.m. Nigerian time. So that's when we learn. You know that school is on, so students come back from their regular school. We go into our class about an hour, 30 minutes. We are done. Then we go into our rehearsals. Right. So we are putting all of this, reconnect ourselves to our heritage. That is intervention. You must consciously get yourself back to your cultural heritage. the one access to it. It's just like say Jesus is the way, the truth, and the life. One only way you can do this is through your language. It is language that exposes you to the culture. I cannot mean enough to my cultural presence, even to myself, if I continue to wear all my traditional wears, my ishago, and wear my hats that I'm not wearing today, and put on my bead, yet I can't speak Igbo. I'll be like a tickling cymbal. It is an empty vessel. That's what I am. Unfortunately, many of our elderly men and women, especially men today, who are living overseas, raising their children overseas, Ijowa, they are just like that, empty, as far as cultural knowledge is concerned. Now, I do not intend to castigate anybody. If that sounds like your father, well, do more to change what your father did or to correct the mistake of your father. Ọtụtụ ndị nne na nna anyị ndị nọ n'ofesi n'ala bekee na-azụ ụmụ ha, ihe eji mara na ha ndị Igbo today bụ na ha na-eyi isi agụ, na ha na-eyi okpu red, ụfọdụ na-abịa okpu mmemme, na ha na-agba ọla aka na agba ọla ụkwụ, na ha na-aga chie echichi nze maọbụ ọzọ maọbụ chief. Ha amaghị ihe gbasara ya, ha enweghị ike ịga ọjị, ha enweghị ike ịtụ ilu. Unu chetakwa na onye ọbụla atụrụ ilu kọwara ya, ego eji lụọ nne ya mere gịnị? Ọ lala ka n'anya, o furu ọhịa. Jede ga-atụwa ilu ka you ume nke iru kedu? Daalụ nne m, good to see you. Ndị otu ndị nkụzi Igbo ekelele m unu juru eju bara bara taa. Ana m eme isi my students do good. Lady Dora Digital, I've not seen these three anyway, so please, awuna nke a bụ ihe na-eme experience from your own family. You are an Igbo born. You are born from ndewo Nkiru Dalo o amụrụ gị n'ofesi, amụrụ gị n'ala bekee. Ụfọdụ ụmụafọ Igbo ndị amụrụ n'ofe mmanụ, obodo ndị ofe mmanụ, ịhụ ha ha na-asụ asụsụ ndị ofe mmanụ ma ha ama apị n'Igbo. Ọ jọrọ njọ. Anọ m na-akọwa maka nwanne anyị nwanyị na-akụzi n'ụlọ akwụkwọ, whereby kids who are in JS in core Igbo land, n'ala Igbo gọọ ebe a na-akpọ South East, anaghị asụzi Igbo. Ugbu a anyị nọzi na-ekwu ya, ndị gọọmenti etiti agawepụ policy that used to persuade a child to do at least one local language. Now, they can't, they shouldn't. So you find out that the work of the promotion of Igbo language for the future rests on our shoulders. That is why we do this. I welcome us all again. This is important to us. If you are just joining us, this is Omenka app. We promote Igbo language through our campaign called Igbo Literacy Project. It brings us here every Monday, 1 o'clock Eastern Time, 7 p.m. Nigerian time. I'm going to be here again, teaching again, 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time. We have not started our Saturday broadcast, which discusses culture, pure culture. But I want to ima more about Igbo history and culture. Jela Ndewo Nnam Dalo. It's good to see you. If you want to learn more, we have other partners like the Eno and the culture. They are very rich in Igbo culture. Yes, Omoge, if you want to do a customized private lesson, you can go to our website. You go to our, I guess, projects or resources. You see link to register to do Igbo language. We also have a team under we have a team of language teachers who can teach you other languages. We want to start offering Ibibio, we want to start offering Yoruba if possible. Then we also have a team of sign language experts. But because I am Igbo, I put 99% priority towards the promotion of Igbo language over and above every other thing that I do as a teacher. All right. So, Kese Igbo, excuse me, Kese Igbo bụ otu n'ime ihe mgbu dị anyị na-ahụta n'ụbọchị taa nye ụmụafọ Igbo dị ọtụtụ. Ọtụtụ ndị amaghị ka Mkpụrụokwu Igbo si arụ ọrụ. Thank you. Thank you everybody that is sharing. Thank you everybody that is liking and giving heart. Omoge, thanks for the gifts. I appreciate you people. And this is a way of promoting this program so that more people will see it when we go online. Right. So for those of you that are joining us for the first time, we started treating the Igbo noun, and then we went over to the Igbo verb, and we have been dissecting Igbo verb and how we can add mkpụrụokwu wee mebe mkpụrụokwu ndị ọzọ. Today we are looking at mgbakwunye nsonaazụ. Mgbakwunye nsonaazụ is all about, suffixes. So last week I didn't teach from this class. I taught from home because of code. So I would have shown us some of the things we did last week, but I wasn't here. You will see Igbo people whenever learn Igbo, go register to learn Ibibio. Beatrice, I'm advertising other languages. Some of Igbo people now, we never know Igbo. go register to learn Ibibio. But that's the truth. You see, the school that I'm talking about, where lots and lots of Igbo children who are in JS, SS, and they don't know Igbo. In the university, I'm talking about the university, one of them that are partnering with us, they offer German, they offer Chinese. Your children that are graduating from the primary and secondary school attached to your university don't know Igbo. You don't have more than 4 Igbo teachers there. Among the 4 Igbo teachers that you have, is only maybe 1 or 2 that even studied Igbo. Oh my God. There are things you hear about what is going on to us. You will shed tears. And why this is not strange to me, even though it is very appalling, is this is exactly the same situation I met when I started my research in sign languages in Africa and the deaf world. If you go to an average school for the deaf, whether it is mainstreamed or specialized, you will see lots of teachers who are teaching sign language. I'm not saying lots of teachers as in the number anyway. Okay, if you go to an average special deaf school, you will see that all the teachers most probably know a little bit of sign language, but just 1 or 2 might be specialists in sign language. Amongst those, it might be maybe 2 or 3 deaf teachers. Then if you go to the one they call inclusive, whereby, or mainstream, whereby hearing and deaf students are together. For instance, School for the Deaf Abuja, Kuje, go there today. You will see over, one of them, the secondary school Pasali, has over 2,000 students. amongst the 2,000 students, I think they had about 99 teachers. Out of the 99 teachers, then they also had about over 200 students who are deaf amongst the 2,000 students. Do you know how many sign language teachers they had across the school? Those who could teach and sign for them, only 2. What this means is that the 2 teachers who can sign will have to go teach with other teachers for them to be able to understand the deaf students. And those teachers who sign are those either that learn sign language in their church or picked up sign language because they are coda. What we call coda is child or children of deaf adults or something like that. Or they have deaf relatives by accident or by intentional effort, they learn how to sign. And then one way or the other, they become good at it, and they're teaching us sign language teachers. This is a situation going on in Igbo land today. Schools. So that is why we are taking grassroots approach, grassroots campaign to schools, encouraging schools to start Igbo clubs. We have it in one school today. We are making effort to see if we can start in other schools. And we need support for this kind of projects. So if you have support in any way to help us start Omenka Igbo Club in schools, maybe a school that is in your area, the school that's in your village, we need such support. I na-arịọ ụmụafọ Igbo ihe ọbụla unu ga-eme to support the promotion of Igbo in our own land. Asụsụ anyị alaala in our own Igbo land, in our own schools, anaghịzi akụzi Igbo. There are no teachers. We are going to the point of trying to see if we can even support the employment of more Igbo teachers. But the problem is so hydra-headed. Yeah, Igbo integration program. It is a huge effort that it requires for this to happen. There are few who are studying Igbo today to teach Igbo because of the low morale and the demarketing of Igbo language. Now, among those that studied, few might be the ones that will even teach Igbo at all in schools. So you now get other people who are employed, who studied agriculture, literature, that are teaching Igbo. But the worst part of it is that the schools are no longer obliged to offer Igbo. So a child can go through schools without learning, without taking Igbo in the WAEC. Now the real problem has come. So that is why our language is continuously being messed up. So we want to reestablish. You see how schools and church. Thank you, Useku Food, for the cake. Biko sorom ta cake Useku Food unyerem. Oh, very yummy, yummilistic cake. I remember when I used to travel for a conference, I came to the United States from Nigeria, and I was in a staircase in the university, and this old man that has a piece of cake, yummy cake in his hand. So, the cake was so yummy and yummilistic and attractive that the man could not resist it. He was going to his office while in the elevator. So he was with me in the elevator. So he had to pinch on the cake like Rio Thomas in a jar. See, you know, they said, Oh my God. I couldn't help it. Like, what kind of lack of discipline? You know, the cake was so attractive. That's the kind of cake I just received now. I could not resist it. All right, so please join me in enjoying the realistic cake. All right, so mgbakwunye nsonaazụ n'izu gara aga anyị lere anya ndị nke na-enyere anyị aka anyị wee nweta okwu ọzọ n'ọnọdụ tense, and I showed us that the word tense in Igbo, we really do not have another translation to it other than tense. Also, one of those words that we don't translate. Just write it that way, okay? So when we talk about tense, that is ihe mere, ihe na-eme ugbu a, na ihe merela, na ihe mecharala. So we saw those examples, and then we said in Igbo, ọ bụ na inwe verb dịka me, ihe a na-eji emebe ihe mere nke bụ past tense wee bụrụ nke a na-akpọ are plus what we call open vowel. So that is to say that na me nke bụ akara ota, anyị gbakwunye me plus ra will give us mere, mere, which is what? Did. So me is do. Okay, so this is how we create. Yes, Jaja. That's how we create an average verb in Igbo. But we also saw, Zumi, you're welcome. Thank you for sharing. We also saw an example where the past tense can as well be created by reduplicating or multiplying or repeating the segment of the verb itself. So like in ro, which is build. Ro, build, plus ro will give us what? Ro, ro. Ro, ro. Built. The same, like re, thank you, Jaja. We also see re, which is eat, and then plus re, then it will give us re, which is what? Ate, from eat to ate. You can see that even in English, it's not a straightforward thing. It's one of those controversial conjugations, verb inflections that we get, where they say that the change happens internally, okay, from eat to ate. Ordinarily should be eated, right? When you add ed to it, from it, you would have had eated, but the language does not support eated. So for whatever historical change that the language supports, it gets us to 8. So riri, naroro are those that take the form of reduplication instead of r plus open vowel. Okay, so yeah, you can as well say that this is a repetition of the a here, but it does not happen without the r that ensues or starts it off. So I am here as an example of how we create a past tense word in Igbo. Okay, past tense word. Enweghị ụzọ ọzọ Igbo na-eje enweta okwu a na-eje egosi ihe mere. Okay, that is a verb. The past tense word is formed by the verb agbakwunye ya nsonaazụ nke ya na re na udume ga-esoro. Then while we do that, remember that we'll always follow our vowel harmony rules, right? Ndakọrịta udume anyị nke bụ na ọ bụ na udume ahụ si na ụda arọ, udume nke ga-esote arị ga-esokwa na ụda arọ. The same goes with the udamfe. That's what we do. All right. Ulysses, you're welcome. So I hụkwara hụrụ mmecha. Nke a bụ ihe mere. I hụkwara ihe mecharala, which is past participle, already done. Okay. Nke I hụrụ from verb or verb roots plus ela, or a verb that is here plus la, sometimes le. Okay. Dịka na I ga-ahụ ihe m dere a or a here, open vowel a, la, a as well. Dịka ri, riela, ga, gala. Now, ọwụ na ile anya na nke anyị ga-asị na enwere m ike ibido na ịkọwa ya site na nke mbụ, ije nke mbụ ma ọ bụ first step, na nke abụọ, n'ihi na ga, which is the verb root, is in its verbal lexical state, and it does not relate with other words to form a sentence until it transforms. So the transformation means it has to add, you will say ga plus a or a first of all, which might give us an imperative. That means ga, okay, as this case may be, and then plus there, we now get la. So one can argue that lale is our past participle marker. So mgbe ọbụla ị na-ede ihe ma ọ bụ mgbe ọbụla ị hụrụ mmadụ kwuru okwu ọ dere ihe ya banye la, ela, ola, ala, you know that that is past participle marker. I riela nri ahụ edosara gị, eriela m ya. Obi ọ gaala ahịa, ọ gaala. Emeka ọ lọtala, ọ lọtala. Now, I will also went ahead to see additional things we can add, okay, to create emphasis, to create other emotions to the word. Dịka mgbe ọ gaala, gachala, kwuchala, mechala, kamgbe. Mgbe ọbụla anyị na-etinye okwu ndị a, ya wụ na asụsụ nabatara ka anyị mụbaa okwu, we multiplying vocabulary or gbatịa okwu, extending vocabulary. So anyị aka na-akpọ mgbatị okwu. Ngwa bụ verb na-enyere anyị aka to generate as many strings of expressions as we can, limitlessly. You see where the native knowledge of a language comes in. That is why ojidimpa ịmụta asụsụ gị. Because ị nwere ike ịma mere m, emeghị m. But when the expression gets into that kind of extension of a vocabulary, you get confused. I have a set of cousins who grew up in the north, and they grew up not speaking Igbo language, even though the mother and the father are fluent speakers of Igbo. This is a trend that Igbo people have often found themselves in generationally. Now we are looking at how it relates to English. We're not even talking about how it relates to other non-English Nigerian languages, where Igbo people, Igbo children are being born. Do you know that several Igbo children who are born in the north are neither fluent speakers of English nor Igbo. What do they speak? Any other language but English and Igbo. Theophilus Kedo, thanks for joining. I hope you arrive safely to your destination. Temple Anyasi Kedo. Dalo, you're welcome. So I have these cousins that grew up in the north. They were not fluent speakers of English. Neither did they know Igbo. But they spoke Hausa like crazy. But fortunately, their parents had to bring them back gradually, and then finally, they started learning Igbo. So when they got back, those of them that grew with me, I was always around in my home, and my cousins used to always come to my house. A lot of my cousins, my maternal cousins, grew up experiencing my house, my home. So some of them came to live with me, and I was teaching them bad Igbo, like Akaja, So one of them was wondering the expression of Igbo that goes with Ju, which is to refuse. So as an adult Igbo who is learning how to speak Igbo, in fact, I think all of them had this problem of how does this word Ju, how does it really work? Refuse. On a Diego's mean on a okay Diego's guy Ju. Okay, but sometimes you might be heady about it and you will not, So, but for between the younger people, you can refuse to say to do something that you were asked to do, and all of that. So my cousins were learning how to express themselves to say when you send them to do something, they can tell you no, I refuse to go. Even though it's a core, even though it is not acceptable in the culture that when you are sent on an errand, you verbally express that you refuse. You can only be stubborn about it and not go, but not say no, you will not go, you will not go, especially when it has to do with parents or elderly ones. You can't say no, you won't go, even if you don't go. That was why in the Bible, Jesus was given a picture of this son that was sent something. He said he's not going to go. And he later went. And the other one that says, oh, I'm going to go. But in fact, he didn't go. The one that said he was not going to go did not just express, oh, I'm not going to go, but showed it in attitude. So you can only show in attitude that you will not go. You don't express that. But my cousins were trying to understand the concept of Ejo, and it was one expression that they kind of found fascinating. So if you ask my cousins to do something, you guys say, Njukwanu. This is the first question that will come out of her. The next thing she will say, Moaju. Then in that line, she will also say, Ajolam. So as soon as this comes out, we all will just, who want you to say no? You're not going to say no, my dear. As soon as it comes, everybody will just laugh. Like, do you know what you're saying? So it was later I found out that what they are trying to understand is the concept of Jew, how you can use it in an expression, like to really express, to say, no, I'm not going to do what you said. Okay. But this is an expression that is not really verbally used in terms of younger and older relationship. When you are asked to do something, you can't say ajulam. So this was an expression form of my cousins, which myself I used to enjoy so much because I knew that they were speaking very wrong in Igbo, and I liked it that they were making mistakes in Igbo, because I was making jest of them. For me at that time, that was all I enjoyed, that they didn't know how to use Igbo. Now, why am I bringing it out? I was growing up in Igbo land. I knew that I don't use this kind of expression. I knew that there was hardly any time I would be asked to do something like Mjokwano, Maj. Yes. Temple says, I grew up in the US. Very hard to learn when to use each expression. So that's where we emphasize on developing a near-native speaker's knowledge of the language, to know when to use what expression at what time. My cousin is using an Igbo expression that is not really being used in the context that she's using it. In the context that she's using it. So, sorry. Yeah, it was very funny living with my cousins. I had a very wonderful experience living with them. Okay, so if you have a native speaker or near native speaker's experience of the language, you will know which expression to use in what context. All of this drama, Njokwanu, Maju, Ajulam, does not make any sense. So a younger person growing up in Igbo land will laugh at my cousin until they learn that it's an expression that is really not necessary. You don't use it at all. So when we are talking about extending the vocabulary, we extend the vocabulary to accommodate different expressions that are permissible, that are usable in the language in the context that they are permissible. That is why the verb, just like you see Jew alone, has the potential of taking different chunks of other linguistic expressions to create different meanings. This can bring tense in the excuse me, in the way of creating past mere, ihe mere, mobile, past participle in the traditional grammatical term, like what has already been done. Mela, ajulam. So ajulam, the last one. You see here, Jola, she has already refused. And she has expressed it that she has refused. All right. So with the remaining part of our time, because you want to give job for those that are coming for the first time to our class, you will find more resources in our Menka app, especially those of you that are growing up outside of Igbo land. For your reason, I'm speaking all of this English so that you can benefit from this class. Next Monday, try to come early, 1 o'clock Eastern time. Why I emphasize on the Eastern time, American time, is that when I look at the analytics of my live, I see that up to 80%, if not 90%, that come to this class are from the United States. So that is to say that majority of my students here are Igbo born, or those who have something to do with Igbo, who live overseas. And primarily that is the population, the community that I teach. Even physically, my students are Igbo born children who are growing up overseas. And so we have a whole lot of work to do. you and me, all of us. And this we can only achieve by agreeing that there's a vacuum, there's a huge gap in our relationship with our language, with our cultural identity, not just in the dressing, but in the linguistic heritage. And it is resting on our shoulders to turn around the errors, the mistakes some of our parents have made. He made a mistake by looking for greener pastures overseas. But their mistake begins when they forget that traveling overseas does not rip you off of your identity, your cultural identity. For whatever condition that made a person to move from their natural cultural environment, it has always been there. Migration has always been there. But when a person begins to strip themselves off of their cultural identity, that's where the problem begins to happen. Yes, Temple, we're here on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube. You are on Instagram. My writing is showing from the left. That is because I have not found a feature that can make me to unmirror what I'm writing. Those on TikTok and YouTube, they're getting a better view of what I'm writing on the board. But we're here every Monday. I'm having cough because I'm just recovering from cold. All right. So Mondays, I'm also here at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time every Monday as well. So you can join that class as well. So today, with the remaining part of our time, what we're going to look at is, yeah, thank you there. You can go to YouTube. What we're going to look at is when we now add Mkpụrụokwu Nsonaazụ, and it will create a different kind of word. That is, it will change the word category. These are the things, we are looking at the things that are so difficult for an average Igbo born who is not in Igbo land, who is not speaking Igbo from childhood. It becomes difficult for them to understand. Just like you trying to understand why when you meet this word for the first time and you call it posam. So we're back home and open the Bible and say posam. In your head, that's a great thing, but he said, no, it's not posam, it's Sam. He said, why? In the first place, the P is not pronounced. Even the L is not pronounced. Why? How? Sam. How do you mean Sam? So that is language. You will not understand why is it not Pasam? It's Pasam. Now it starts with P, okay? And all they use different uses of F and PH and all of that to sound F and all of those. That's rough, okay? For a non-native speaker, it is difficult to understand. It's difficult to understand. Or why you should not call this sword. Why would you not call it sword? Why did they put the W there? So in Igbo, the kind of expressions we are really dealing with in our class, these are the expressions that confuse an average learner. Okay, like you ask, so why this? No, but then the problem this average learner has is that some of you are coming from an environment where you already had, oh, Igbo language is so difficult. Igbo is so hard. Igbo is hard as any other language. But Igbo is very, very unique when you are learning it. Excuse me. Even if it's maybe harder than any other language you must have experienced, it does not suggest that you cannot learn. When it's hard with style, right? When you put effort, you can learn. So let's go ahead and look at when mgbe nsonaazụ ga-ewetaziri anyị okwu ga-esi na ngwa banyezie n'okwu ọzọ dị iche. We touched on this when we are looking at the prefixes as well. And I'm going to repeat it in another form because we saw it with the prefixes. And then now we're going to see it with what? The suffixes. When we look at the prefixes like C, oh, let me see. What was it? Okay, like J again. To get an infinitival, we do EJ. EJ. Remember, this is not EJ, okay? This is to go. Okay? Now, when we have J, which is what? Oh, sorry. When we have J plus A, we'll now have J, which is what? Go. Imperative. Or a command. Go. Okay? Now, we have J plus Re. We have Jere. Which is what? Went. Which is went. I have not done one additional aspect of the prefix, the suffix, which I'm going to touch now, which is negation. J plus ye will give us what? J did not go. This is negation. Excuse me. J, let me write it well so that you know that it's did not go. J plus Ela will give us Jela. Has gone. That is already done. Has gone. You know, we can as well do Jechala, right? Which is also in that same category. All right. Now we now have J plus plus the syllabic nasal prefix plus M suffix will give us what? Njem. Njem. These are all processes that go on with the word J, which is just in its verb roots. Okay? Njem. J plus N prefix plus a root duplicated J, again, we'll have J, will give us what? Njenje. Njenje and njem have similar meanings. Njem is journey, okay? To embark on a journey. Njenje is also journey, or, walk about or go about. More like tourist journey. Njenje is also journey. What other? Now, if you look at all of them, njem and njenje have left their original categorization of word. Jegede soya or Beatrice. Jegede esoya. Nje, J plus A plus no, J no. Ladies, ọkwa arithmetic gal. Lady, was ahịrịokwu ka ị na-ede mba nke ahụ esonye nne m. All right. Lady, are you here today? Hey, yeah, how are you? Kedo? It's good to have you. All right. So, njem na njenje bụ okwu abụọ n'ime ọmụmaatụ ndị a anyị nyerela ugbu a, ndị hapụrụla ọnọdụ chi ha bụ ngwa wee banyezie na kere aha. So right now we've been able to derive a noun, njenje. We've also derived a noun in njem. Both of them are nouns. Okay. I know that this can be big, like too much for some people to understand. I just want us to take it one at a time. I don't intend to be fast discussing this. That's why I pause to know. I know I have done more of talkings today on, conscientizing us, but I don't want us to lose sight of this. So this is when we add mgbakwunye nsonaazụ, and it will now help us to derive a word that is in another form, which is another categorization, the noun. Okay, so I did not talk about the negation, nju, anaboya nju. This is negation marker. Ike diko kedo. Thanks for joining on Instagram. It is only GHI or GH, yeah. E or EA. This is the only negation marker that comes in this form in Igbo. In the past, that is what I mean in this form. When you want to indicate that something did not happen, it is only in this form where you are going to form that word. Email and in Instagram. So it is only that you are going to add. So now note that when I say okay, ejeyim ga-anọrọ onwe ya. Okay, it is not like here njem where we wrote everything together, because this is not a pronoun. I'm going back to how we started this class several months ago, looking at the pronouns. This must be on its own. Ejeyim, I did not go. Okay? Right. The other time we bring negation in form of suffix comes when we are giving a command, imperative. Je plus la. Of course, it has to be in high tone. Will give us what? Je la. And which is what? Don't go. But that does not end it, because if you write it this way, I got to say, what Igbo is this? So the complete process will be J plus A plus La will give us Ejela, which is don't go. Ejela. I believe everybody is seeing it. You see that I did not write Iche. Ejela. I did not write Iche. Nde ya edesa mi edesa. Ndesa ya ọghọla ihe ọzọ. Which is I should increase the volume of my handwriting. Okay. I'm trying to do that. I will clean up this now and then I will write from up again so that you all will see it. Okay, right. So this is another time we can see negation. But this now is in form of a command. Do not go. Ejela. Okay? Ejela. And look at how we write it. So for those of you that started my class from the beginning, if I write this, who can tell me what it means? If I had written this, Ejela, gịnị ka ọ pụtara? Ụmụafọ Igbo, ya, lee ya n'elu ebe ahụ. Beatrice, ọkwa ị na-ahụ ya? I increase the volume of my writing. If I write this, gịnị ka ọ pụtara? As opposed to this. Good. Ike dịka ọ na-eka nọ ya, ihe m na-ede na Instagram na-aga aka ebe, okay? But I want to join in at TikTok or YouTube. It is in the right form. Instagram has not given me the opportunity of mirroring my writing on the board. So bear with us. Kedu ndị bịara akwụkwọ? Ejela, he or she has gone. Okay. Kedu onye ọzọ? Ejela. Someone you don't know, you don't want to mention his name, is involved. Lady ndị gụrụ akwụkwọ, don't go. Ndị gara mahadum, don't go. Usekwu foods. All right, Ike, ndewo. Okay, ndewo ndị niile gbalịrị ịsa maọbụ ịza. Nke mbụ bụ na etu a m dere ya, aga m eji akara ọbara wee kaa ya. Jeremiah. N'ihi gịnị? It is neither here nor there. If I had written this ejela, ihe o kwesịrị ịbụ na don't go, which is written this way, but it is wrong. And it is not also right as an unknown person, because for me to bring the unknown pronoun, it will have to change to ejela. Bob, ejela. That is the correct way of writing. But now the meaning has changed, which now means has gone. Ejela, he or she has gone. It has gone. The person that we don't want to mention. Yes, that's what it is, lady. So, ejela edere otu a, edete ya, edejara ya. Now, you've seen why we are doing what we are doing. These are nuances that we meet every day, every time we see people write in Igbo. If you have come to the knowledge of understanding an average Igbo word written in an expression, either a clause, a phrase, sentence, what my teaching is trying to do is to bring us to the cognizance of when a person wrote something that is wrong, or even you yourself wrote something that is wrong, so that you should be able to identify your mistake. When you are not able to identify where you got it wrong, it means error. It also signifies lack of knowledge. That means you do not know that. Okay? This can be confusing a little bit to give it to you or anybody who argues, the difficulty in learning Igbo. It can be confusing. But if we stop paying attention to the correctness, to the need for us to write correctly in our language, we begin to mess up our language in a very bad way. Because ogaozi oke n'ọhịa ngwere n'ọhịa onye be ya odere nke ya gashi ike. Something happened in an Igbo group I belong to. It's a group for scholars. And somebody who unfortunately, I believe is a professor, I don't know, wrote something like this. And say it is what? This. They wrote something like this. Mkpilipi. Thank you, lady, for if I didn't get that expression word. Okay, no here ngwere n'ụzọ. Yeah. And has no mkpilipi, no abstract. So I'm like, where is this one coming from again? So in a respectful way, I put out the question, because this is abstract. Is that what Igbo scholars call abstract? And she now replied to say, Nia dereya otiase wata. I frowned at this. I was short of words. I didn't know what to say. Or you say again, na kedu ka esi there, and I didn't really want to answer. Like I was taken aback that I didn't even know how to respond until somebody responded, I say, and gave the correct what is generally accepted among scholars as abstract. I believe what is generally accepted. Lady say her. is it can be funny, but it's fundamentally concerning to a person like me. If at the level of higher learning, this is a scholarly group. It is not any other Igbo group, maybe entertainment. This is scholarly. Where if there are words, like if I'm looking for the translation of an English word, how scholars accepted it in Igbo, that's one of the groups I could go to. So please give me kana or idiota. And it's a person supposedly wrote this. As much, I mean, outside of that, don't know Olundi as Olu Anambra, you know, a lot of people who speak Anambra today feel they can write Anambra dialect and then claim is Igbo. And I say to all of you in this class, you can speak your dialect. It is not a standard way of writing. Whenever you want to write, seek to write in the standard form of the language. We know we have this mentality whereby some people believe their own dialect is more acceptable or generally used than not. It doesn't matter the status of your dialect in Igbo use or Igbo language. When you want to write, it's just like you now writing pidgin in form of English, the standard English. You want to write Queen Elizabeth. Oh, Queen Elizabeth, one the self. Okay, you want to write King Charles a letter, and you are writing the letter in pidgin English or even Nigerian English, and you send it to them, and you say yes because you are from Nigeria, writing Nigerian English. You don't do that because by the time you are, I'm even putting it too high, like you're even writing a report, or even writing a journalistic piece. Writing it in, say, Nigerian English or, say, pidgin English is allowed when it is not going to the official channel of English. So long as it is official, it is something you now have to try and put in the standard format. Today, AI has even come to help people who write to, fine-tune their English so that it will sound so Elizaic. You understand? We make all of this effort, but we think we can easily drop our language there in a written form. It doesn't matter how it's coming from, and nobody cares. After all, that's how I speak. That is wrong. This is wrong. I have spoken in organizations, groups where somebody from Ohafia would ask me, how do you address the issue of my dialect? Because my dialect seems to be one of those ones that are a little bit away from what is spoken around the central Igbo. So while you and I will greet Ndewo and Dalo, onye Ohafia ga-ekwe ka, ndị Ngwa also the same. So there are these dialects that even in common greetings, a lot of things are pronounced differently. How come onye Ohafia derego Ohafia? Are you going to be able to read it? Why do we generate this confusion for ourselves? So here in this scholarly group, a scholar, first of all, wrote, even if this, like what she wanted to write, is related to Mbiribi as, an expression. She wrote it in her dialect. And the term is completely far away from what is generally accepted by scholars as what abstract means. This is wrong. And if this is existed at that higher level where a person can boldly raise their shoulders and say, I am a professor, And this is not just a general group of Igbo people whereby you think, say, oh, this is an engineer. What if she's a doctor? No, this is Igbo studies, Igbo scholars. 99% of everybody there is a person who has had a training in linguistics. So this shows us the level of decadence in the use of the language. That's why we're going back to the lowest nuances to try to handle. If a scholar in the group will misrepresent the language this way, how much more a person who did not grow up in Igbo land, who is struggling to acquire their language? We can forgive them, but we will not forgive this. Because this is error and it's deceptive. And you might be not surprised to know that this is also the kind of thing going on in our institutions from the grassroots up, where people misrepresent Igbo language in writing. Because I have told you people, I enjoy some broadcasts from some Igbo people and scholars who I trust their training, their background, their sources, and their method. One of them is our brother who makes presentations or teaches on YouTube, the Eno culture. He's very vast. He's very knowledgeable. He comes from Delta side of Igbo, speaks his dialect. But this is a guy who also has learned and known Igbo to the point that he can also switch over to the standard Igbo, okay, because he has experienced the standard Igbo and all of that. But when he speaks his dialect, I can understand it. But it's not the way I speak. But when he wants to write, you see, write the standard Igbo. I know that a lot of Igbo children today who are schooling under people who speak and write their dialect will have possibly a problem with this. But if you are one of those, it's important for you to know, at least knowing helps you to begin to make a correction. Right. So, thank you, Useku Foods. Roses and flowers and roses flying everywhere. All right. So, ejela is another form where we have negation in a command. But remember, a person in it, a person we don't know, ejela, we now have to add ejela. That means that person has gone. Okay? If you say ejela again, it's no longer correct. That is Igbo for you. All right. So, lekwa ọmụmatụ niile anyị nyere ji, je, mebe okwu wee na-akọwa na njem na njenje bụ ọmụmatụ mgbe ọ bụrụ na anyị gbakwunyezie okwu na ngwa na azụ ngwa o wee wetara ya okwu ọzọ dị iche nke nọ na n'ọnọdụ ọzọ dị iche nke bụ aha. So we derive a noun again from verb. This is called derivation, okay? And we are going to see a lot of this in the next class when we'll bring more examples. This happens in other languages. More examples abound, and that's what we're going to Hey, Beatrice. All right. So we're going to see more examples of that in our next class. And I believe that might help us to begin to round off on the Mkpụrụokwu Nsonaazụ, ọrụ ha na-arụ ka ha si apụta ihe na ngwa. Then I believe it might help us to go into another category. But I want to mention again the this form of negation by suffixation, right? Suffixation rather. Suffixation. Don't mind me now. My brain is not. So we say J plus E. Then J plus A plus la, ejela. Okay. So mgbe ọbụla anyị hụrụ yi wee hụ na dịka J yi no, ya bụ na pronoun n'ebe ahụ nnọchi aha n'ebe ahụ bụrụ nke onye mbụ, you know, that is first person pronoun. Remember, you're going to write it separate. Okay, that is so important for us to know that you're going to write it separate. I also want to pronounce, or rather express that you can as well take additional grammatical elements. Kwa, ije kwa, ọpụtara na ije kwa. Ụfọdụ mgbe we now have it as J kwae. Whichever way, it is the same set of words. Okay, thank you, Jaja. Kwala. Jekwala bo in the positive, okay? Jekwala. It does not work with ye. So we can have ijeyekwa mob ijekwaye. Okay? If you put it as ijeyekwa mob ijekwaye mob ejeyinkwa mob ejekwayim, whichever way, it is still the same set of words and you are still expressing the same thing. Right. So we're going to stop on this example today, and I would like for those of you that are joining us for the first time to know that I na-abịa ebe a ụbọchị Monday niile mgbe ọ kụrụ elekere nke mbụ nke ehihie na oge nke ndị ọwụwa anyanwụ nke America, maọbụ elekere 7 nke mgbede nke ndị nọ na Nigeria. Ezechukwu, ndewo. Ị chọrọ ịbata na class ngwanụ batawa. So ọ bụrụ na ị bịara n'azụ oge taa, if you came late, know that our time is 1 p.m. Eastern Time, 7 p.m. Nigerian time. Ezechukwu kedo? Ndewo. Ndewo. Ya gazikwara gị, imeela. Ihe anyị na-arịọ ụmụafọ Igbo niile bụ ọ bụrụ na anyị ga-ewere ozi ọma wee zisara. O nwere mgbe m nọ n'Owerri, akụziri m ihe n'Owerri, agụrụ m akwụkwọ n'Owerri, kụzie ihe for 8 years na Imo State University. O nwere ebe mụ na ezinụlọ m bi. So I bi n'akụkụ ITC, former ITC Park. Ebe ọ ga-ahụ chi bụ n'ụtụtụ 4 a.m. The entire park enwuru n'ọkụ with sounds and all of that. So there is this small Volkswagen moto edosara, tinye ya speaker. Ndị ahụ na-ere ụmụ ọgwụ ndị a na-agwọ nna ọrịa. So ọ bụrụ na ị nọ were around that time, ị ga na-anụ bụ ọ bụrụ na ị maara onye na-arịa pai na-akpọ ha ndị agha niile Staphylococcus aureus, ị ga-aga na ya ada unu. Iruo na ya ada unu, ị ga-eme announcement nke mbụ ị ga-eme bụ na ị mara onye ọbụla na-arịara ihe a ka anyị na-anụ from 4 a.m. till 12 in the night. Now, why am I bringing this? This is an intensive marketing strategy. Ị gaghị agafe na ITC Park without hearing this announcement, like consistently. The battery never runs down. I don't know how that guy did it. Ị gaa na ya adon, ị ga-eme announcement nke mbụ ị ga-eme bụ biko ụmụnne na ụmụnna unu mara na otu a ka ọ dị. N'ihi na anyị niile na-arịa pai, anyị niile na-arịa Staphylococcus, ihe gbasara asụsụ Igbo, anyị niile na-arịa Staphylococcus aureus. And enwere ndị na-arịa na ya ada anyị, ụmụnne anyị. Our own children, if you are a parent, it is a big problem. Lots of elderly people amaghịzi omenala Igbo. That is why we are getting involved in a lot of mischief. Ndewo. Anyị na-ebe a na TikTok, na YouTube, na Instagram, elekere anya mbụ nke ọwụwa anyanwụ America, elekere anya asaa nke Nigeria. Anyị na-akụzi ihe awa abụọ. Emechakwa anyị na-abịa ebe a Saturday ịkọ maka omenala Igbo. Anyị bido ọzọ mụ na Reverend Father Chetuya Adinchezo na-akọwa ihe gbasara ọjị. Anyị emeela ya ihe dịka ugboro 3. Fada na-achị kọrọ anyị ihe gbasara arụsị na ụfọdụ omenala ndị ọzọ niile ndị anyị nwere nghọtahie maka ha, dịka na mgbe ụka abịaziri ụfọdụ omenala anyị wee sị na ndị a dị njọ, mana taa ọ dịzikwa ka omenala anyị niile ka ekpokọtachiziri ọnụ sị na ha niile wụzi arụ, mana ọ chọrọ ịkọwara anyị ihe dị iche na omenala ndị ahụ dị njọ na nke na-adịghị njọ gbasara arụsị na ka o si gbasa okpukpechi nke anyị na-ekpe. Ihe anyị na-akọwa wee bụrụ Igbo has been very demarketed for a long time. Okay? Ndị niile na-emegide anyị bụ ndị Igbo sitekwa na mgbe ndị ọcha bịara dọrọ ndị mmadụ n'agha, ewere ụmụnne anyị, millions of our brothers and sisters as slaves, rukwa taa nke obodo anyị nọ n'ime na-akpagbu anyị n'ụzọ niile dị iche iche. Ihe ndị a niile mere ụkwụ anyị wee nọrọ na mba. Nwoke Owere wee gụọ sị ụkwụ nọ anyị na mba arịa anyị mma, sị anyị lọtakwuo from ụzọ ije. One of the ways we do this is by what we are doing. Anyị wee wepụta Omenka app iji nyere ụmụafọ Igbo aka, so that even if you are not necessarily going to come back home, ka ị wee be connected with your cultural identity. Oh, yeah, what kind of yes, Omenka app on the Play Store and Apple Store. So all we need you came in late, or you're just joining us, or you're knowing about this class today. One of the first things you get me, Ghana, your Play Store or Apple Store, download the Omenka app. Because in a biebana over Chimonde Nile, even if name my Igbo dika one night work is a chuku. You can be here just to spread the news, to spread the word. Your coming here can be as soon as I withdraw class, we'll make it online, can the mother way better. Ụmụafọ Igbo, ọwụ na eji aka anyị zọta onwe anyị, enwekwa onye ga-azọta anyị. Ihe ọbụla ndị niile gbara anyị gburugburu chọrọ ịzụ anyị vam ọkwa na ụna amaghị. Yeah. Thank you. Email.
ihe social media na mgbede a ofe ya mgbe anyị na-ese ụzụ ka mkpụ ilike
ịgbalịrị ya dịrị gị na mma. Ya ọ na anyị nọzi na mmechi nke ụbọchị taa. Ndewo, ya dịrị gị na mma nna m. Alright, enwere onye ọzọ nwere ajụjụ ya anyị na YouTube na TikTok? Beatrice. Alright, ana m ekele mmadụ niile ndị sonyere anyị, ndị nyekwara anyị onyinye karịchaa na TikTok, ndị nọ na-ekesa ihe a na-enye anyị ịhụnanya. Ana m ekele unu. Ana m ekele ndị ụmụ akwụkwọ m ndị nna ahụ ndị na-abịabe class for a while, Lady and Lady Zomta, daalụnụ. Ahụm do good, Chinwe, dewonu. Ndị mụ na ha si arụ ọrụ, Theophilus, Kingsley, Beatrice, Success, Sally, Adeze Dunya, daalụnụ. Ụmụ akwụkwọ m ndị na-abịa akwụkwọ ụbọchị niile, Jaja, ekele m. Ahụm Ash and Yoketia today. Jaja, thank you so much. Ana m ekele unu. And then Nkwasid, I didn't say Nkwasid as well. Ahụm Nkwasid and because no Nkwasid. And my highest gifter and partner, Usekwu Foods. Ndewo. Ndị ka nwere mmasị maka keeki ahụ enyere m, eme unu akpọtụrụ m n'ekwentị. Okay, yeah, Lady Zomta, Chukwu gozie gị. Daalụnụ. Ọ dị n'aka Chukwu. Thanks for joining us on Instagram. So n'oge mgbede, ọwụ na ndị ga-amụ anya, unu soro m ka mụ na ụmụazụ m anyị na-aga ịgụ akwụkwọ Igbo nke onye dere ya bụ otu n'ime ndị otu ndị nkụzi Igbo. Ya, Doziakụ Chinwe, ndewo. Imeela wee bịaghachi. Thanks for coming back. So m na-akụzizi ihe, I'll be speaking and teaching with the alacrity because of people like you, ndị mara na ihe a na-akụzi ebe a na-enyere aka karịchasịa, nwa ndị nọ na classroom. You are really facing a great deal of challenge. Ịkụziri ụmụazị anyị ndị na-enwe ezi mmasị ịmụ Igbo. And then finally, ọ bụrụ na Igbo onye nne bụrụ onye nna, no matter wherever you are, do better, please, do better. Mee ka ụmụ gị bụrụ ndị nwere mmasị ịmụta Igbo. If you are an Igbo born outside of Igbo land, especially overseas, this is your place, this is your class. You cannot run away from your cultural identity. It doesn't matter how you pretend. Ghana cannot save you at all. It doesn't matter. Amamu na hono fu nwanne anyị nwoke na aha ya bụ Tupac Ishaku. I think he's on Instagram. You can go and look for him, Tupac Ishaku. I want to go and see Igbo. It's creativity. That does not save anybody. He is doing that because my Igbo, all Benicio, then uses here his talents. Now Susi Igbo ka, Neji Bekend America Igbo. That is only possible because he knows how to speak his language. So when you are able to have a grip of your language, the nuances, everything, atu ilu nama nwa afọ Igbo ga-akwụrụ m mana na enwe onye ga-akọwara ya wee gwe ya na ego eji lọ nne ya furu ahịa. So ụmụ klaasị m ihe anyị na-achọ bụ ka anyị mụta Igbo ruo mgbe ọ ga-abụ atụọrọ anyị ilu anyị wee ghọta. Anyị nwa na onwe anyị nwekwa ike ịtụ ilu ka hapụ ịgwa anyị n'ama na ego eji lọ nne anyị furu ahịa. If you are non-Igbo, you are here. We appreciate you. Adeze Dunya, all of you, Theophilus. We also encouraging you to be part of promoting your own language. If your language is going through a season like Igbo language is going through a season, and this is a challenge to all of us, whether you are in the Western world or what. Every language should live. No language should kill the other. You are no longer in the years of conquest, whereby one country will come and conquer another and take them to slavery and all of those things. It used to happen. People should live and speak their language and pass them down to their younger generations so that their lineage will continue. Ihe a bụ ihe mere onye nwe anyị, onye kere eluigwe n'ụwa, chike anyị niile, we have a duty to preserve our cultural heritage. It begins with the language. Ọ bụrụ na asụsụ laa, ị gaghịzi ama ihe a na-akpọ dịka today anyị maara ụmụ nri ndị anyị na-eri n'ala Igbo. Ofe onugbu olugbu, dịka those from the Imo State, olugbu ka ọ ogiri ogiri. It doesn't matter ma chọrọ inye aha bekee, ogiri ka ọ ogori aha bekee doesn't have the meaning. The English does not explain what ogiri is. Ogiri is an Igbo born. Okay, we make it from our own community. Akanwu wa akanwu, ngo bu ngo. We know all of these things. When the language is wiped, God forbid, we wouldn't have all these expressions and these things will disappear. It is not good. How they get or dibia as English native doctor? Dibia is dibia. And let's meet here on Monday next week. And for those that are joining my letter class, see you later in the day. Okay. All right.